Hi, everybody. I remembered to record today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, I'm going to start with this candle today. Great to see you. I'll just say I'm feeling a little fatigued. So if I seem kind of slow, that's the reason. And I'm going to grab my matches. And if you have something to light, even if it's just your eyes, the light of your eyes. So Rivka came and went. She has to lead a funeral this morning. So this light is also for you, Rivka, and for the person that you're supporting in their grief. So yeah, we're a very small group this morning. So I'm going to invite you as we begin just to maybe unmute and just say a word of Kavanah for whom this light is being lit today. I'm just going to burn a little sage as well. Is this for yourself or for someone in particular or for some place in the world or some group of people? Just as you feel moved. And it may be that it's the light of your eyes. That's the radiance that the Kabbalists tell us come from the eyes.
Well, I like to dedicate the light to the memory of my brother. It is his yahrzeit. And he died in 2008. So that's quite a while by now. But I wish his soul soaring in the light. And I'm grateful he was my brother.
And his name?
His name is Eric Ephraim Bar Baruch.
Thank you, Carola. And any other dedications?
Yes, I would like to dedicate this light to one of my best friends, Jenning G., who died this week, whose memorial was yesterday. And this is a photo of us together. She was kind of my best friend for some years. And Chinese family, doesn't have a Hebrew name. Jenning G., beautiful soul, beautiful Hawaiian dancer.
Thank you, Eileen.
I would like to dedicate this life to my partner Nancy's stepson, Oscar, who is really struggling. And what I notice is many young men in particular in this country are really struggling with feeling lost and struggling with drug use. And so I dedicate this to healing.
Amen. Thank you, Barbara. And Michelle, and then Rhonda.
My neighbor Shirley, her brother Kenny lives with her. Shirley is walking her brother home. He's in hospice. At the moment, they can just find a little flutter in his body, no real heartbeat. So he's leaving. And to all of those people who are walking with their loved ones, who are walking with each other, knowing that our turn will come. To all of us, I wish for peace, I wish for strength, and I dedicate whatever light can come into these situations. This is my hope.
Amen. And just welcome, Yosa. We are lighting candles and just invited people if they want to make a dedication of the light as we begin. And Rhonda.
I want to dedicate this to my father, who is now just going on hospice, and he's kind of in the final leg of his 98-year journey. And just blessings for ease and grace and fulfillment for him. And he feels great peace. And also for my husband, David, for his physical healing.
Amen.
Thank you.
And I know you're just arriving, Yosa, but would you like to dedicate? You don't have to have a candle. It can just be the light of your eyes. If you want to unmute and make some kind of dedication of today's light.
My dedication is for all those who need more light. I dedicate our love and our spirits to the universe to give those who need it most more light.
Amen. Thank you all. I think my dedication today, as I'm listening, is to the new babies, number of new babies that have been born in my circles over the last couple of months, including my grandnephew, Asher Nathaniel, and the parents who are raising children right now and having the faith and trust to bring new life into the world. In the midst of what seems like the ashes of the old order burning to the ground. We'll look at that a little bit more in relation to Cheshvan and then the movement into Kislev. But this is a time when we support that which may arise from that which is dying. So with that, welcome. I wanted to share nigun that some of us have sung perhaps and learned. I'm going to bring up the words. The words are Wendell Berry and the melody is, well, you'll see when I bring it up. Yes. I've seen different attributions for the musical setting, but I think it's by Joan. I'm not sure how to pronounce Joan's last name. Zminko, something like that. And so for this, we'll mute again so that we can sing it together. And this is, I've heard different versions of the melody, but this is the one that seems to be the most authentic. And you may want to just give yourself a little bit of a finger snapping or a heel tapping beat for this. So it goes like this. To go in the dark with the light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. To go in the dark with the light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. Let's just do it line by line. So I'll sing a line and then you sing it, and I'm going to hear you in the silence. To go in the dark with the light is to know the light. So try that line. To go in the dark with the light is to know the light. Next line. To know the dark, go without sight. To know the dark, go without sight. Then it goes up. And find that the dark too blooms and sings, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. Let's just do it a few times through and invite you to begin to move with it if you're feeling the beat, feeling the movement. To go in the dark with the light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. Can you find your dark feet and your dark wings? To go in the dark with the light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. To go in the dark with the light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. Let's do it one more time. To go in the dark with the light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without sight, and find that the dark too blooms and sings, and is traveled by dark feet and dark wings. And just taking a few breaths to sort of sink into whatever you experience as darkness in your body. Maybe it's just unknownness. Or maybe it's a sense of something rich and hidden. Maybe it's something fearful, uncertainty in the dark. Just find that sense, because we are moving into the dark season as we move toward the end of Cheshvan and into the month of Kislev. See if you can bring some of that, whatever you're sensing, your awareness of darkness into the belly center. I'm going to look at that in relationship to these 2 months of Cheshvan and Kislev. So the kind of gut area, intestines filling your pelvis, base of the pelvis, sacrum area, and also your stomach. So that's more in the middle section, but on the left side, solar plexus area, but to the left of center. And maybe just beginning to massage or finding the movement there. Sometimes I think this belly center does feel like the deep, dark cave of the body. And of course, there's also the womb center there, but we're focusing more on the intestines right now, the gut. So maybe a little self-massage there. I'm just going to bring us back as we continue this, unshare the screen so that we can be together in our movement. So if you are moving and you want to come back to sitting, just notice how you settle your belly center as you sit. Does it stay alive or does it go dead? Does it collapse, or is there a liveliness there that actually supports through the organs, that supports your lower spine, tip of your tail? There's also a glandular center there that we have paid a lot of attention to the perineal body over the last months, or we did for a while. Just bringing awareness to what's called the coccygeal body. So that's the little glandular center inside the tip of your tailbone, and it's several, maybe inches behind the perineal body, which is in the center of your pelvic floor. Welcome, Ahuva. You came in while we were in the dark there. Yeah. So the coccygeal body, and just feeling that's right in front of the rectum, so behind the rectum, so you can perhaps feel its relationship to the belly center, the digestive organs, and how if that gets closed in and the muscles tighten around it and it gets held in, that there's that gets translated up into the tightness in the belly organs, in the digestive system, and vice versa. So just, and that coccygeal body, that very bottom of the spine, as you just bring some awareness there to this dark place, it really relates a lot to basic survival. And I've had an experience of it when I really activated. I felt like I was sort of a cave person sitting around the fire, and maybe there were drums being beaten and stories being told of some kind, or maybe not with words, just with movement. So let's keep that alive a little bit, and let's look into Cheshvan, and then we're actually going to do the configuration of Yud He Vav He that is for Kislev today, which we're going to be marking Rosh Chodesh of Kislev on Thursday and Friday. And I think last month we previewed the movement for Cheshvan, even though we were still in Kislev and Tishrei last month. Now we're previewing the movement. We're going to preview Kislev. But before we go there, I really want to dive into the gifts of Cheshvan, even though we're in the last days of it. So once more, let me share the screen. And here is Cheshvan. So as you may know, the actual full name of this month that's given in the Talmud is Mar Cheshvan, and it's from the Babylonian, as most of our month names are from the Babylonian. Some of them also have Hebrew names that are older. But the sages drash Mar Cheshvan, and they separate it into two words, Mar and Cheshvan. So they say Mar is bitter Cheshvan, because we don't have any special holy days other than Shabbat. Nobody mentioned Shabbat, but actually the full name is Mar Cheshvan, and it doesn't actually mean bitter. That's just the name of the month, and the bitterness is a drash. And we can also look at the gifts, the immense gifts of this month, which comes after the outpouring of Tishrei and all of the major holidays. So this is a month of, as we'll see in the Torah portions, in the Hebrew letter, in the astrological sign, and the energy that, and even the body parts. It's a month of entering sort of deeply beneath the surface, of letting go of the old. The assumption is that we can't do all our work of letting go during Tishrei. So much is happening, and it's so communal. Often our celebrations during Tishrei are, there are a lot of social energy and sort of tribal energy of coming together with familiar prayers and melodies. So now we have this time, more of our personal time perhaps, to come inward, to see what it is that we're actually releasing, purifying, and integrating from the holy days. What is it that we were able to raise ourselves up to, get in touch with, that we now want to begin to integrate? And that is the movement of Mar Cheshvan. And then as we move toward Kislev, there's a kind of incubation and dreaming that of the new, that and moving that into action, that can happen more in Kislev. But we don't want to skip over the steep part of Cheshvan. What seeds were planted in the earth of your being during the holy days of Tishrei? And just as after giving birth, so Rosh Hashanah, we celebrate the birth of the world, eternity, or the birth of humans in some way. Tishrei, if that's a birthing month, if you've given birth or if you've been at a birth or been with a new mother, that after the energy and all of the pushing and anticipation and blood and guts of giving birth, there has to be resting. And the baby is exhausted and the mom is exhausted. And then there's a resting and a bonding that has to happen in that resting, getting to who are we together? Who am I together with the parts of myself that are now being birthed? And it came to me that as the physical light is in the world is waning in the Northern Hemisphere at this time of year, the possibility to go into the dark without the light that we usually, the light of day that we usually carry, or the candlelight or the lamp or whatever. But as that physical light is let go of, as it wanes, it seems to me that the possibility for perceiving the primordial light grows. And the primordial light is what we call the organuz, the light of creation, the light that was created at the very beginning on the first day of creation in our mythological creation story, before the physical light of the sun, moon, and stars. God says, let there be light, and there was light. What is that light? There's reams of mystical teachings about that. We call that the primordial light or the light of creation. And as we let go of everyday light and move into the darkness, and that primordial light is what we access bits of on Shabbat and when we light the Hanukkah candles in Kislev. So it's like we're resting our vision so that we can perceive the inner light, the primordial light. It's suggested that this is a time when we, in this purification, that we are letting go of as we let go of some of our ego needs and our external ways of defining our identity, we can become more in touch with our soul needs. What is the ikar, the essence of our being, and what does that aspect of ourselves need? The Hebrew letter associated with this month of the month of Cheshvan, Mar Cheshvan, is Nun. So there are a number of associations with the letter Nun. It looks a little bit like a scorpion, so that connects it to the astrological sign of Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto, lord of the underworld, lord of the hidden wealth, the wealth that we only find when we dig into the earth, dig deeply to find hidden resources and inner riches associated with these animals, scorpion, eagle, and phoenix. The scorpion that can poison us with its sting, the eagle that soars, but is also a raptor and is quite powerful with its talons and its beak. And the phoenix, as we said, is the mythical bird that rises from the ashes of death. And these are symbols of, or accompaniments to, the sign that is ruled by Pluto. And the Nun is associated with Nefilah, the movement of falling. So again, this sense of descent. And so we have this phrase here, Yurida Litzorech Aliyah. This is kind of a Kabbalistic principle that there's a descent in order to rise, that we know this in our dance lives, fall and recovery. How many of you studied Doris Humphrey? And you know that we fall and then we find renewed power to suspend upward from that falling. So that is the Nun. It hints at the Kabbalistic principle of descent for the sake of ascent, that we go down in order to go up. And it's balanced, of course, by the opposite that we aren't focusing on so much today, that we also ascend in order to descend. But this is a purification process, a learning process, and a descent into the depths of our psyches and our physical bodies. So it makes sense that the body part is intestines. Now I've heard different body parts, different people. Rabbi Jill Hammer gives a different correlation. I think she correlates Mar Cheshvan with the right arm. Aryeh Kaplan correlates a different version of Sefer Yetzirah correlates Mar Cheshvan with the intestines. And so the energy, the inner work of personal transformation. So I'm going to pose a question for us to move with. And we'll just do some movement, a little bit of journaling. And maybe what we'll do is come to, at the very end of our session, after Eileen presents, then we'll kind of make the transition to Kislev, and we'll do the Yud He Vav He for Kislev at the very end today. But I'd love to allow us some time now to move with a few questions. So just coming back, and then to do a little bit of journaling. Just to say that the Torah portions for this month are all, they begin with Noach, so that is the purification by water, and they move into Abraham cycle, which is a kind of map for the spiritual journey, which begins with a letting go of old ego identities. Lech lecha, go for yourself, go to yourself, and you have to leave behind your conditioning of the land that you were born in, the family that you were born into, the house that you were born into, the parents that you were born into. Somehow we have to strip that away as we start out on the spiritual journey. So Noah in the ark gives us ego strength, but then right away we start stripping away the ego. You need ego strength to start the journey, and then you use that strength to dismantle old identities that are no longer serving. So stripping away old conditioning, nullifying the false ego, and finding ways to connect with the oneness with God. And this is what Abraham models for us, not without struggle, without lots of challenges, without testing, but gradually the old will naturally fall away and die and become compost in which a new life can grow. So this time of Cheshvan as opportunity for deeper investigation. And I guess the question I want to invite us to move with for a while is what is the source of your ikar, your true essence, the essence of who you are at this moment? If you can begin to discern, I mean, we all are shaped by what is outside of us, the expectations, both the negative messages that we receive, but also the positive ones, you know, which are sometimes coming from the egos of those around us who have great hopes for us and may not be attuned to the essence of who we are and who we are becoming. So what is your ikar right now? How do you perceive your own essence right now? And perhaps as you move, you'll begin to feel what is it that you also are releasing that is somehow covering over or obscuring that essence. I think our perceptions of our essence definitely shift as we grow and change. And so we're coming into this present moment, this month, this particular month and time and week and day of Cheshvan. Give us some music to move to. We'll move for some moments and then have a little time to journal. Then we'll have some time to briefly check in. So here we go on a little journey. So just finding a little bit of pausing place in this process. And if you want to take, we'll just take 2-3 minutes to jot down anything that came to you as you were moving. Words, phrases, or a little picture. We'll come together in about 2 minutes. If you want to finish up what's coming for now, maybe it'll continue later. I'm just going to invite us we've been mostly doing our check-ins with all of us, but I'm just going to invite us into breakout rooms with a partner for about 10 minutes so that we each have a little bit more time to share, because we want to make sure we have plenty of time for what Eileen's going to be sharing with us. So if you would join the breakout room when you're invited with a partner, and we'll each have about 5 minutes, 4 minutes or so to share, and just to be witnessed in whatever came up, is coming up, and around what we've stirred up so far. So see if we can do this. Here we go. If you get stuck or something is wrong, I'm not sure how to get hold of me, but let's hope this works.
Usually the breakout sessions have a knob that you can hit to call in the host. It's at the bottom of the screen. When you're in a breakout session, it may actually be there if you create breakouts.
Yeah, I can see that it's not putting me in one, and so Eileen, if you would stay here in the main room with me, and then other people should have a partner in your room. Here we go. Whoops, that didn't work. Did Rhonda join that breakout room?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So there were 3 of us, so I left. We figured out how to do it. So I could.
Perfect.
I'm so glad to be with you, and I just don't know if we can limit it to 4 minutes each, but go ahead, you start. I worry about you.
Yeah, why are you worried?
That you're exhausted and burnt and
Yeah.
so do everything so beautifully and thoroughly that you must be exhausted.
I'm a little burned out. But what was coming through today is, and I'm not exactly sure how to implement this, but I guess that's what Kislev will be more about. Because of the commitments I've taken on, it feels covered over. But it's like, what is the e-car? I'm a dancer. I'm a mover. I like to move. I love music. I like to sing and move. Oh my God. So, and I'm so grateful for all the other things I do that give me lots of resource and teaching and learning on an intellectual level to resource that. And it's not, I mean, I do often a Nia class once a week, but Nia doesn't really do it for me. It's kind of surface for me.
Yep.
Everybody has their own ways in, and I'm so appreciative of my buddy who teaches these NIA classes, and they certainly, get me going, and it's music, and but yeah, that's the e-car. That's
Mhm,
what's coming up.
mhm. May you continue to make time and find time.
Yeah. I mean, the world needs it too, and I'm not in the dance world so much anymore, and I don't want to be, but the world, um, yeah.
Well,
So,
you bring so much. Uh, I'm so happy to share this with you because my dear friend Jenning, who's probably a Buddhist, who just died of Parkinson's and laid things terrible last 10 years with her. The memorial was at a mortuary right across the street. And to make a long story short, her family arranged for a pastor to give the service. And I found it so jarring because he starts off by saying something like, yes, he will grieve, but this is a time to celebrate life. And let's think of all the good things, et cetera, et cetera. There's no space for grieving or for loss.
mm,
And so in your movement, I thought, I wanted to get up even early and get ready for this class, but I slept longer. I am a night person. And and I love the curled up protection of the night, and I stay there as long as I can before getting up and kind of facing the day in the light. I can be very in the light, but I need so much darkness. So in the movement, it gave me permission. And there's part of me too. A lot of people are saying it's wonderful to see you. You look great. And by the way, Jennings' mother, who's 93, Mama G, who said when my mother died, she was my mama. She's a
mm,
little Chinese lady this high who still practically doesn't speak English and looked awful. Lost her daughter, and they're living together in this assisted living. And what is she going to do now? And everybody said, you look so good, Mama G. So, you know how when there's that kind of effort to cheer up. And it felt awful to me. So I've been doing the same with people who are saying, you look great. Your voice sounds great after the cancer thing. And I'm saying, like, so far, so good. I'm great. Well, actually, there's a lot of paralysis still here.
mm.
Arm still doesn't go any higher than this. They took out the recurrent laryngeal nerve. So I get terrible pains and tightness here.
Can you hold that thought for just one moment? I need to broadcast a message to everyone. Okay. So you still have a lot of paralysis in the.
And it's very tight because this vocal cord is having to work very hard. The one that's paralyzed is behind a bunch of other nerves here. They offered me a complicated surgery, and I said no. And I haven't been doing physical therapy, but I've been sort of denying that I'm living with some limitations now. I can't hike the way I used to. So that's the darkness that I've been denying too. Like, I'll manage. I'm just grateful to be alive, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I haven't really. So I did some mourning for the darkness here. And then this side started to help this side. And then they ended up doing a dance together. This side was really assisting. And eventually they did come back together. So there was sense of giving life, acknowledging the deadness that's still here, and then bringing it back into some sort of balance. It was just wonderful. I haven't really made time to acknowledge my own limitations. I'm not the same.
That's really, I'm so glad that you know that and maybe there'll be more chances to work with it, because I think about Anna Halpern and the life art process and how much recovery comes from that kind of moving with whatever is defined as the limitation or the weakness or the loss. And
that quote, you know, the appreciation of the darkness, that it's
Yeah.
got its own kind of light, which is so easy to have a fake optimism about, you know, we're all going to rise from the ashes, but it'll be a different light, or there's something else to wait and
Yeah.
cultivate,
Yeah.
and the going without knowing what's there.
Yeah. Yeah. And meantime, behind you, all of this light is coming in and sparkling on the floor behind you. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give them a message to close the rooms, which gives
Sure.
1 more minute, you know.
Sure.
And
Thank you for this chance, Diane, and I'm so glad to be able to be back.
yeah, me too. We missed you. It was a long time that you were away for different reasons, but
Right.
yeah. And you know, this is not fake. You do look really radiant. You know, so there's something that's unfolding, I think. That's at least I witnessed that. So
Thank
yeah. So what we'll do when we come back is probably take a short break, and then you'll have a full hour to
you. Sure.
give over, and then we'll have a little time at the end maybe to do our Yud Hey Vav Hey, and yeah.
Okay. Terrific. Thank
Yeah.
you. Blessings to you and to Bert.
Thank you. And I hope this works, and I hope they come back.
Here they come.
Uh-huh.
I love seeing Joanna's hair long. Yosa looks great with long hair, and Ahuva cut hers. Hey, we're all changing.
So we just have a couple of moments if you want to just give some starburst kind of insights or phrases, and then we'll take a little break. But anything that wants to be spoken briefly into the whole circle?
Just appreciation for the darkness and opportunity to not push it away too fast.
Oops.
Isn't it? It's like everything in life, which you all probably know a little better than me in terms of the Kabbalistic, the Yitzhara, and I forget the other part, but it's always there. It's the flip side, there, you know, of everything.
Yeah, thank you. The light and the shadow.
Yeah, but also the death and the rebirth, the regeneration, and the mystical Mechaye Hametim. That's where I feel very connected with Chaye Sarah, the parsha we just had. And for me, the intent, my sole intention to be regenerative, to even focus more than I'm ever aware of generativeness with the earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Mechaye Hametim, for those who aren't familiar, is it's part of our Amidah prayer, the daily prayers, and literally prays for one who brings life to the dead, who gives life to the dead. And that's both in our tradition, there's a literal belief in resurrection, and there's also the spiritual metaphor of enlivening and rebirth. Yeah, thank you. Barbara, you're unmuted.
I am.
Yeah.
Well, just heart connection to those in Toronto in particular who are going through major change. And I am lucky enough to be looking at the water on the lake, which will freeze soon. And yet the flow is always there, even if it's frozen on top. There's currents below that keep enlivening. And so both end.
And which lake are you looking at?
I am looking in Minneapolis at B'nai Makaska, which I live next to.
Powerful image. Michelle.
You asked us where we are or who we are in this, and I've found that I'm in the space between my breaths, in the silence. The silence is rich, and then nothingness is everything, and I'm just home. I'm intrigued by the fact that when I'm there isn't an impetus for growth or finding or becoming. It's just being. The trick is going there. Finding the silences between my breaths and expanding them when I have other awarenesses of sensation. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to explore that particular question. It's exquisite.
Thank you. And I'll just say the word that I used, which I should have explained better, is maybe you are familiar with the word ikar, the essence of something, the ikar. So anything else that wants to be spoken before we take our little break?
I just wanted to say that mentioned the coccygeal body or something earlier, and I am having a lot of pain in that area, and I wondered if you had anything that you could share about that might be helpful.
It's a powerful energy center, and lots of muscle attachments. And we could look at that, or you and I could look at that at another time, but it attaches to various points on the pelvic floor, the pelvis. So anything, of course, with the hips, the spine, but also emotionally, it's a place of survival, basic survival. So in working with it, what I find is to lie on my side, curled up, kind of fetal position, and make sure I feel really protected. And then to breathe, simply breathe into and out of that place, or sound with a kind of, if you've ever heard the Tibetan monks, that pitch and quality of sound helps to open the coccygeal body energy center. And it's a very low pitch. And for me, it's not easy for everybody to do this, but I like to actually reach around and touch it, because sometimes the pain comes from a squeezing there, and what I want to do is to open there. So there's a few little things you can begin to work with.
Thank you so much.
How long do we have, Diane, for the break?
So we have 5 minutes, and when we come back at 15 after the hour, a quarter after the hour, is when you'll launch in. And if there's anything you need, let me know in terms of music or whatever. I can make you co-host so you can share screen, share music.
Would you make me co-host, please? Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. And let's take then Rhonda, did you have anything you wanted to share before we break? Or are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm breaking. No, sorry. What came to me was if it does feel like the ground is sort of moving and opening and shifting, and the habitual response is to want to hold on, and I'm trying to be in a place of just being open to the dark, like the song said, to the unknown, and see what new is going to emerge, and just be in that uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable place. I wish I could be as comfortable as Michelle, but maybe I'll have to grow there to get into ease with it. And it's I mean, it's sort of like it's like the water in the lake. It's happening, it's moving, and I don't know when it's all gonna congeal. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So now let's take our 5-minute break and come back about 15 quarter after the hour. Thank you, everybody. Putting the
Fabulous. Diane, you said to 1:15. I'll try to watch it. Okie doke. Hello, everybody. Yosa. All right. Whenever. So I just want to say it's wonderful to be back to see you all again. And I'm so excited to be home and back connected again. When I was thinking about what to share, I was thinking, here, let me move this so I can read my notes. What's most up for me with all of this? And it started with can you hear me, everybody? All right. So about 2 weeks ago, I was at the dance therapy convention in Minneapolis. Yep. Very nice there. And just really briefly, there's in two ways, there's a complicated political thing going on there. I wanted to say, first of all, let me go back to the American Psychological Association. I don't have all that much personal experience with anti-Semitism, but about 2 years ago, I ran into a very nasty exchange on a listserv. I became part of a group called Psychologists Against Anti-Semitism. So I've been fairly active now, and some of us made some proposals for the conference that were not accepted. It's all kind of Black leadership now. The last 5 presidents have been Black, including the incoming president, the CEO. I go to the dance therapy conference and similar things are going on. So having lunch with people I consider my mentors, they're in their 80s. They were the founders of the Dance Therapy Association, are feeling and they're mostly Jewish women. The new president is a young Black woman. And there's, the woke culture is kind of, in some senses, the Jewish culture is being erased. And I don't know whether it's a combination of ageism that these women who I feel so close to are feeling at the end of these amazing careers, kind of thrown aside. How much is the natural order of things of the younger people taking over? But you're supposed to respect your elders and every indigenous. So there's a tension going on and sad feelings from people. So I decided I should do something about it. So I made a proposal that was accepted, and I want to share what we did there with some of the results. And it starts, so I did a little PowerPoint that I'll share with you and then play some music. And then what it came to was, especially through APA and through the dance therapy and even the readings, there's so much good stuff, and also jargon about whether we introduce ourselves by the indigenous land we're on or by our ancestors, a whole set of questions about identity And so many of us are mobile and our ancestors are moved. So this tying it into Diane's question about who am I? And the need with cultural humility to start by saying, this is my starting place. I am such and such. So through especially my last visit to Israel, really looking for, I had in mind some ancient Yemenite wisdom who's going to teach me all her dancing, healing techniques. And I really didn't find the figure I thought I was looking for there. And I realized Israeli folk dance, although its back is in some ways an anachronism. I went out on Yaffa Street on Yom Ha'atzmaut, and it was all young people dancing to electronic, music. And so is that just a mirage, that old Zionist idealism? Sort of, I had to really think about who am I now as a Zionist? What is Israel now? And it's getting more difficult even to stay connected. All those about who am I and cultural humility. And the other thing that I learned so much when I was in Israel is what a minority I am now as a white Ashkenazic. There's all those questions we're asking ourselves. Do I check off the white list? And so much is coming up at APA with, and me saying, I am not just a white oppressor. You can't just put us all in this bucket of we're all just white oppressors as Jews. So a lot of that was in the background, and partly the impetus for my making this panel, on which I wish you could hear, but many of them couldn't come. Mimi is 88. Sharon just had a stroke, to the conference and really speak about their roots, the impact of their being Jewish on their, and I say really none of us chose to be dance therapists. We inherited some spark and we found our way in many ways to a field that wasn't even formed yet. But it had something to do with the healing power of dance that many of us in some strange locations just felt. And a lot of these women started out in New York. Wasn't so much about religion and dance. It was the social justice. They were working in the Henry Street settlement. They were working with kids. And they talked about the impact of the 60s, the 70s, and growing up in households that was strongly Jewish, identified with social justice. So it's a beautiful set of that maybe I'll play for you. But my introduction was really about the need for us to examine this question for ourselves. If I'm not just a white oppressor, who am I? As a Jewish woman, dancer, dance therapist. And that we ended the panel with Kohenet Elisa Rivka, who you all know, and sometimes she's on these, who gave a beautiful talk about the younger generation, because I think the older generation, part of the despair is that nothing is rising from the ashes, that a lot of this legacy is going to be gone, not knowing that some of these beautiful younger women, younger folks, are picking it up in a whole new, exciting way. So we had both ends on the panel, the older folks and one younger folk talking about legacy. And in the audience, we had, for example, and I have some of this, we had, and we'll get to moving soon, but we had a young woman who is on the board now of the Dance Therapy Association, who said this is really important. The panel really spurred her to look at her own roots and where the sparks came from. And we're in the process of trying to edit this now and make sure it gets on the website. And we're going to transcribe it and write an article for the journal to just make sure that this history is not forgotten and that it gets passed on in whatever form. So that's kind of where I feel like, in asking myself, am I white? Am I Ashkenazic? Am I a minority? Am I learning a lot more about Holocaust history and what goes on in the Arabic lands in 48 and so forth with the Jews? So anyway, I'm going to share the screen and just quickly show you the PowerPoint, and then we'll do some movement. So it starts off, can you see? Slideshow, play from start. Okay. So can you all see it? Yeah. So this was the PowerPoint, and these were this was the book that just came out over the summer, and we had a reception for it at the Dance Library in Tel Aviv, Jewishness and Dance. And these are my distinguished panelists. Mimi was one of the founders, designers. So is Susan, so is Sharon. So is Alyssa, who's half Filipino, half Jewish. And Marcia, who wrote the chapter here with Mimi. Okay. And they're my teachers. Here we go. So just some quick, I started with my own cultural humility of, whoops, where did that go? So they were Joseph and Heike Perlmutter, and this is Great Aunt Ray from Kamenets-Podolsky in the Ukraine, and they were Hasidic, and she used to, Great Aunt Ray, who I was very close to, she came over in 1924 from Kamenets-Podolsky. She used to do what she called like Isadora Duncan, kind of, where her father wore a black coat and he would sing and dance and cry, and she would hold on to his coat and dance and sing with him. That's Yosef. And she once looked at me when I was about 10 and she said, "You have it too. I see it in your eyes." And I went, but we were very close. And I think this is where it comes from for me. So just some of the values that I was trying to talk about that I've understood. Israel building a country, using the arts to building a strong culture. That we had a conversation, but a lot of this really started in 48 very intentionally. The steps are old, and my origin was with, as a dance therapist, was in Israeli folk dance with Fred Burke at the 92nd Street Y and in Habonim, use of symbols, dance of picking grapes from the field, dance used to motivate, build strength and resilience, instilling values very deliberately, creating a new Jew, working on the land, celebrating the farmer, valorizing the defender, comes from Danny Gordis. And this is what attracted me at age 14 to Israel, to Israeli folk dance, ancient Hebrew practices, some in the Jewish mystical tradition. So it's talked about. Diane talks about this a lot. Circle consciousness, sphirot, creativity in the mystical. Movement is a bridge between the worlds. And here we are. I actually, wore those blue and white skirts, and still done in some kibbutzim. And it's especially about harvesting and gathering, all of that agricultural, of Israeli dance. 1944, that was question came up. First folk festival, structured, and like folk dance around the world, circles. These are archetypal forms that I've worked a lot with, how they appear in cultures around the world, using steps from other cultures, Cherkessia, Yemenite, grapevine, Hora, right? And that they got used very deliberately for building resilience, biblical foundations, step hop, David's dance with the Torah, Miriam's well, life flow of water, refilling, processionals, a lot after the first temple and second temples, dancing with the Torah, celebrating freedom, Miriam's dance, and then resilience built. So I used to experiment with this teaching in Israel, just bouncing, finding your resilience, falling to the floor, getting up. We talked about that today. Working with polarities, abound and free, dancing with the turns, sensitivity to touch, personal space, cultivating safety, grounding, empowerment, which we do as dance therapists a lot, especially working with trauma and building resilience. And finally, I think dance is still being used in Israel for healing from the Holocaust to new life. This was the 70th year anniversary, and we still use dance to celebrate rising from the ashes. So that was my kind of educational piece to start with. And I'm looking at the clock, that was 15 minutes. I'll just read this. Ethical psychotherapy begins with knowing oneself and how that affects the therapeutic process. The recent cultural wars are throwing many people into an examination of their cultural roots, including the struggle to have all voices heard and finding a peaceful way to negotiate diversity. Being Jewish is a factor that's influenced many dance therapists from an identification with values of social justice like tikkun olam to an appreciation of communal folk dances, rituals, and traditions through the calling to be healers through the healthcare profession. This panel is based on a chapter on Jewish roots and principles of dance therapy from Oxford Unity Press, focusing on the role of Jewish women in the development of dance therapy in the United States. Interviews with some of these women, exploring the themes and considering the role of intergenerational legacy, which is also Lador Vador, who are carrying on developing new traditions. Historically, Jewish women led community celebrations with song and dance, and that tradition was discouraged by the patriarchy. A number of Jewish women and feminists are reclaiming the power of these traditions by rediscovering ancient forms of healing, building communities of dance, and teaching new generations of Jewish women about the power of dance. So with that as an introduction, let's stop the sharing. I have to catch my breath. Maybe just a comment or two before we start with movement, because what the movement is going to be is I'm playing different cultural forms of Jewish, Israeli, non-Israeli Jewish music, and just ask you to explore your own relationship to this music, if it brings up anything about your roots to the music. So, Ahuva. She freezes.
To say that like my cousin that's going on a lot in anti-hate commission in California, which has to do with the, as well as the far right anti-Semitism, the far left anti-Semitism,
Yeah.
and finding ways of talking to each other that seem impossible seems really important. And I think movement is a way of doing that. That's a way of expressing oneself without getting into a fight,
Thank you. Yes, I'm looking for that. Carola, yeah.
Hi there. Thank you for your rich historic roots. And for me, since I did my psychotherapy training with El Peso, who was a dancer of origin, so dance and psychotherapy was very connected through Reichian work as well. So I come from that area. But at the moment, I'm reading
Janet Adler? Is that
Janet Adler, Intimacy and Emptiness. She is the lady of authentic movement.
Yes.
And she too is a Jewish lady of background.
Yes.
So for me, it's so painful to hear if you look from the social identity perspective. But if I look of my Holocaust past and learning to center in, to find my soul roots in a way, it's a total different story. Than dance is bringing you beyond all those mental and social perspectives or thought and emotional conditionings. Then I could find my body as a temple or as a experiencing field in a safe environment. And so as a Jewish woman, I'm not affected by all this anti-Semitism anymore, like in the old days. It doesn't even trigger my wounds. I'm just, gosh, how to respond from the body, inner presence. So I hope that that side comes in too, through your traditional dances and structures and movement, that it is, if you turn it around, you know, the gift of life will be the center, then nobody can wish you dead or kill you. Sorry.
Yeah, we will have time for breakout rooms and sharing. I just wanted to pause.
It's sickening. It's so sickening, I must say. So I wish you get out of there. Like my European history, I had so much support of your creative. I went to the United States to re-find my creative co-creation power, which I didn't have. That was totally overgrown or defensive or in basic fear. And so I don't go with this identity discussion in no way.
Okay. Michelle, and then let's move. Yeah.
I'm a klezmer dance leader. And for me, dance is my peace practice. Because there are certain aspects of being Jewish that shred me, and there are certain aspects that fill me with warm honey. And I can get up in front of a group of people I have never met, and I can lead them in Israeli dance, and I can lead them if they're sitting in a wheelchair, and I can lead them in klezmer dance, and we look in each other's eyes, and we know through movement that we've got one connection. That connection. And that for me is a beginning. Even if it has to be the end too, it can be the end. But for me, come dance with me. Show me who you are. Let's move together. It's very powerful stuff. It's a good first step.
Diane.
I just want to say, as we head into moving, that I feel like you're holding a very courageous place, Eileen, in, you know, standing between the depth of inner process and the places where you are most at home and the institutions of a larger world. That's a very delicate and challenging place to stand right now. And I'm experiencing some of that also within the Taproot in a different way in my interfacing with institutions, with funders. So I just want to invite us all to keep breathing as we're experiencing what you're sharing with us, and keep as an open space so that maybe something new could come through.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes, and thank you for giving me the opportunity for sharing this with people I so respect and love, and who may be feeling your own versions of it one way or another. So I'm just going to play some music of various kinds, and I invite you to, I'm going to just get out of your way, and each one will be, and then after a few movement experiences, we'll have breakout rooms for some sharing. So as I play different kinds of music, let it move you and see if it speaks to any of your own cultural roots, connections, deep connections, figures in your past, your grandmother or not, an imaginary figure. So you'll know them, and just whatever comes up for you, just see. So, and I'm not going to say warm up. Start just each piece will have 5 minutes or so. So take a little bit of that time to get yourself into it and warm up, and then I'll announce when it changes. So ready? Here we go. Or you could just listen to the music, I suppose.
Amol isder zikoren achagute, und men bet bei matoy ventute, bringt amol zurück as bis deri, Blimmel von der Kindheit in dem Blien. Und demol wacht auf der Chuscharea. Und zu dem Over mit der Sprung der Gei. Und demol wacht auf der Chuscharea. Und zu dem Over mit der Sprung der Gei. Amol ist der Zikoren euch gut. Und als mein Bett bei ihm hat tut, bringt einmal zurück, als bis der Rie, Blimmel von der Kindheit in einem Blien. Und einmal wacht euch auf der Chuscharea, und zu dem Over mit der Sprung der Gei. Und einmal wacht euch auf der Chuscharea, und zu dem Over mit der Sprung der Gei. Die Mama reißt die Horner mit dem Kern, mit Puder schmiert sie ohne weißen Semmel. Sie tut mir an die kinderische Kleider und führt mir ab zum Reden in einem Cheder. Sie tut mir an die kinderische Kleider und führt mir ab zum Reden in einem Cheder. Ich bin ein Weiner, der Rebbe hat ein Mäul mit gelben Zähnen. Der Rebbe hat einen größten schwarzen Sieder und dort ist mir der alle Bilder wieder. Nur wenn es trickenen sich aus die Tränen, zerscheinen sich die Äußers wie Sterne. Beiften sehr Licht auf ganze Wörter und stellen sich auf wunderliche Härte. Nur wenn es trickenen sich aus die Tränen, zerscheinen sich die Äußers wie die Sterne. Beiften sehr Licht auf ganze Wörter und stellen sich auf wunderliche Härte und leuchten ab von der größten schwarzen Sieder. 11 Jahren später bis in meine Lieder. Amol ist der Zikoren euch a Gute, und als mein Bett bei ihm hat tut, bringt amol zurück, als bis der Rie, a Blimmel von dem Kindheit in dem Brie.
And I invite you just to slow down, close your eyes if you want. Just feel what's coming up in your body. Jot down some notes if you like. Get ready to switch gears. Here comes another. Begin to bring your movement in, smaller, quieter. Whoops. And you may want to close your eyes and just take a moment, feel in your body. What comes up? Images, ancestors, locations, place. Begin to get ready for a transition to some very different music.
Music is going in and out, Eileen. Are you playing it through your computer screen share?
See. Now I'm in screen share.
So you have to do advanced screen share and then click on play music through my computer. Yeah. Not working.
Is that better?
No. Okay.
I'll stop it. That's really too bad.
I can play that piece for you if you like.
Please, yeah.
If you
thanks.
unshare.
I think I did unshare.
Okay.
There we go.
Here we go.
Thank you. Let's begin to bring this one to a close. Make the movement smaller, quieter. Bring them in. So you can feel the echoes inside you of the movements you've done. See how they feel, see what comes up. And in another minute, we'll do breakout rooms where you have 10 minutes to share 5 and 5. So find a way to bring this part to closure. I'll try to time you in the breakout rooms, but if I don't manage, just know that 10 minutes, 5 and 5 to share. Let's see now. Diane, you're not in one. We'll try to find a way to stay together. You don't show up on the list. Okay. So here we go.
No, it's Rabbi Nachman.
Here's Diane.